When you visit Bueckeburg and approach by road from the south, you can't miss a special gate guard right at the entrance to the town. And only a few kilometres from the famous castle is one of the world's major training airfields for military helicopter pilots. Within a stone's throw of the castle, there is also a remarkable aviation museum with many fascinating exhibits. Today, we take a glimpse behind the scenes of the largest helicopter museum on the European continent. Welcome, everybody. My name is Nick, and you're watching Charlie Hotel Aviation. The Helicopter Museum in Bueckeburg grew out of a small collection at the former Army Aviation Weapons School. From the airfield in Aachen, the museum moved to downtown Bueckeburg in 1971, when it was inaugurated and opened to the public. The famous pilot Hanna Reitsch was present at the opening, as was Sergei Sikorsky. The collection, founded by helicopter pilot Werner Noltemeyer, now had a new home, but many of the valuable exhibits stood outside and were exposed to the weather. The risk that the many valuable helicopters weathered over time was very high, and to prevent this, a large annex was started in 1978, where the helicopters can now be seen well protected. An additional large modern extension was added in 1981 on the occasion of the 40th anniversary, and this has since become a prominent landmark in the Bueckeburg townscape. In the entrance area, the visitor learns about the beginnings of rotorcraft and the founding fathers by means of many models and detailed descriptions. In the main hall, all exhibits are now protected from the elements. In this constantly growing exhibition, you can see many original helicopters from the civil and military sector. Among them are also some very rare specimens, such as this pre-production model, the Tiger from Eurocopter. The exhibited helicopter is also a movie star used in the James Bond film GoldenEye in 1995. In addition to the many helicopters on display, special exhibits and models are used to explain exactly how the various components of these machines work. Some rare helicopters were manufactured in Russia. Others date back to the early days of Army aviation at the German armed forces. Naturally, these include a Sikorsky H-34 and a very rare Boeing Vertol H-21. The famous Huey is also on display. Here is one of its pilots.
My name is Thomas Mibitz. I'm a former Lieutenant Colonel of German Army Aviation, and I started my flying career on this aircraft behind me on the UH-1 back in 1982 in Fort Rucker, Alabama, where I started my training on the TH-55, which is located here in the museum too. And after that, I got the transition onto the Bell UH-1, and later on I got some additional training here in Bueckeburg at the German Army Aviation School, and I was located for 2 years at an air base of German Army Aviation located in the southern part of Germany at Neuhausen ob Eck. And now I will tell you something about this gorgeous aircraft. This famous aircraft, the Huey, Bell UH-1 Delta, was invented and developed by the Bell company back in the 60s, and its purpose was to take part as a transport and search and rescue aircraft in the Vietnam War. And the idea behind that was it should be a cheap aircraft, a robust aircraft with low maintaining costs, and after the war we throw it away. That was the idea behind that. And even the German Armed Forces bought this aircraft in the beginning of the 70s, end of the 60s. And we had a large number of this Huey. And to be honest, this aircraft flew till this year. and the aircraft I'm sitting in, the Goodbye Huey aircraft, was the last one flown by the German Army Aviation, and it stopped its last flight here in Bueckeburg airfield and got its final position here in the Helicopter Museum Bueckeburg.
A helicopter with brilliant flight characteristics that was originally flown by German Army Aviation can be seen at many air shows today. The well-known Rainer Wilke flies the Bo 105 today for the Flying Bulls.
Hello, my name is Rainer Wilke. I've been a former German Army aviation pilot on the Bo 105, the aircraft you see just behind me. I started to fly on the Bo 105 in 1973. Started as a very young pilot, at this time only as a co-pilot, but nevertheless I spent all my flying life on the Bo 105, and during my military time I had contact to Airbus. They gave me the chance to get a civil aerobatics license on the Bo 105, because the reason was I had to train 2 of their pilots in aerobatics. And this is why I finished my career first after the army at a movie company, Action Concept in Colonia. So they made, for example, I don't know exactly the movies. One is called The Clown and so on, and it's a lot of crashes with cars and a lot of helicopter traffic within all this series. After that time, I worked for a short while at the Test Flight Academy South Africa, and then came Red Bull. It was in 2005. They asked me if I am interested to build up a helicopter aerobatics project in the United States, and of course that was my thing, and so I started in the United States with aerobatics on helicopter Bo 105. We bought 4 helicopters Bo 105 for the company, 2 in the United States and 2 in Europe. And since that time I'm flying for the Flying Bulls, exactly. It's a part of the Red Bull company, and we make air shows all over the world. Well, now I'm sitting in the cockpit of a Bo 105. It's old style for me, because this is a military anti-tank helicopter, and it was in 2002 I was sitting the last time in this kind of helicopter. But nevertheless, it's a Bo 105 with all these technical aspects, and I may tell you a little bit about this helicopter. The special thing of this helicopter, of the Bo 105, it's equal if you use an anti-tank helicopter or the civil Bo 105, is the rotor system. This is what this helicopter has very special, because the rotor system is very special, and was a very new thing at that time in about 69, when this helicopter was constructed and built in the first time. Here are, of course, a lot of things which has to do with all the military necessity. So, for example, this is to use the missiles. There is a sight overhead here, and you have to control the sight by this. So this helicopter is also very heavy. For example, the empty weight is approximately 1.7 tons, and the civil one will have approximately 1.4 tons. This is the empty weight of this helicopter. As I said, the main special thing at this helicopter is the rotor system. It's a rigid rotor system. That means this rotor is able to operate as well in the positive as all in the negative G-load area. So in theory you may have -6 G. Of course in practical it's not possible to get it, but nevertheless you have between the input into the stick and the exit at the rotor blades, you have 0.1 second approximately, not more. And due to the huge amount of the G-load area, it is possible to make all these maneuvers which you can see in videos from the Bo 105. Other helicopters may do, of course, also loops. That's not the problem because a loop is always in the positive area, but it rolls very special with other helicopters, and of course all these movements when you're turning around upside down and so on, that's not possible with every other helicopter like this. It's the only helicopter which can do all these movements. And well, we are restricted from minus 0.5 to plus 3.1 G. It's not much, of course, but nevertheless, it's not necessary to use more G load because it's a question how you do it. It's a question of very soft and smooth controlling the helicopter, and this is the main thing you have to look for, because if you're making movements like this, for example, so very hard, then you have always a problem with this rotor system. As good as this rotor system works for every movement you can do, but nevertheless it's very sensitive if you make an abrupt movement. So you have to work very smooth with this helicopter rotor system, and then you can get everything you want to have from this helicopter. For my opinion, the limits of the helicopter are far, far away from the personal limits.
A relatively new section of the museum also deals with drones. And the museum also holds specialist conferences on this topic, which is becoming increasingly important. The latest exhibit is a scale model of NASA's famous Mars helicopter, Ingenuity. And one floor above the exhibition is the ever-growing archive of the Helicopter Museum. Countless historical documents, from technical descriptions, maintenance manuals and flight manuals, to press articles about helicopter flying, are an important treasure of the museum. The archive is one of the most extensive collections of its kind in the world, and is highly regarded by experts. The archivist is Wolfgang Gastorf, Hauptmann, retired, himself one of the most experienced helicopter flight instructors. Currently, all documents are being carefully digitized. This will make it possible to quickly answer the many factual inquiries received here from all over the world. And the museum has also become an important meeting place in Bueckeburg. Many expert members of the International Helicopter Forum meet here. The event room, which is equipped with original models from the hand of Dieter Störig, is also regularly used for many different cultural highlights. The museum is regularly offered new exhibits that can scarcely be accommodated due to the lack of space. But the museum crew is creative. In 2022, this Sikorsky CH-53 will find its place on the roof of the entrance area, as this photo montage shows. Links to our topic can be found below. Thank you for your support, especially over on Patreon, which makes this content possible, and don't forget to subscribe. Nick Bradbury reporting for Charlie Hotel Aviation.